Hello and welcome back to the Wall Street Petting Zoo. I'm one of your intrepid co-hosts, Christopher Smith, and today I sat down with my Kurdish friend Swara Kadir. Swara is a man of many talents. He is an economist, he is a journalist, he is a teacher, and he is a former day trader. Swara tried for several years to make the day trading life work, and then he ultimately gave it up. I sat down with Swara today with the intention of having a conversation about how to day trade US stocks from outside of the United States. But it ended up being a much more wide-ranging and I think much more fruitful kind of conversation. We talked about the dangers of paying fees for education and investing advice. We talked about the danger of paying commissions on stock trades and paying fees for the use of stock trading platforms. And we talked about just the general difficulty of becoming a professional day trader, the huge amount of time that you put in, the extreme difficulty of earning any kind of positive return, and the fact that really this life is not for everyone. In fact, it's really only for a very few people who have the special talents to make it work for them. I think that Swara's experience is a cautionary tale for anyone who is thinking about becoming a day trader for a living. And I hope that you will take to heart his experience if you are considering becoming a day trader yourself.
Information provided by Wall Street Petting Zoo is for educational purposes only and not intended to be financial advice. Please consult with a licensed financial advisor before making any financial decisions.
Okay, so hello, Chris. My name is Swara Kadir. I'm Kurdish from Kurdistan. My job is head of department for business, econ, and psychology at a private school in Kurdistan, which is north of Iraq. I was born in London, UK, and I've been living in Baghdad and in the UK and in Kurdistan for different periods of my life. That's me.
Well, it's great to talk to you again. You and I met through TradingView because we were both doing some stock trading, which I understand that you have stopped doing. You were kind of a short bias trader, so you like to bet against stocks rather than in favor of stocks going up. You like to bet against them bet that they would go down. And you also, because you were trading from outside of the United States, I think you had some maybe complicated things to deal with in terms of the platform that you used and regulatory concerns, taxes, and things like that. So that's really what I want to talk to you about is what can people learn from your experience about trading U.S. stocks from outside of the United States?
Sure. Yeah, so as you mentioned, we got to know each other through TradingView. And for me, as a Kurdish person, I had tried to open an account in normal means. However, it hadn't been possible, so I had to use my British citizenship and apply as a British citizen. And I opened an account with Trade Zero, which is one of the offshore brokers that offer trading accounts for traders who are from outside of the US, alongside the other companies as well. But for Trade Zero, it had a minimum entry fee with a minimum deposit, whereas interactive brokers, for example, would charge a lot of money, and also the entry fee and the deposit or opening account was something in excess of $25,000. So I had traded through Trade Zero. Initially, before I started trading live, I wanted to get some education on trading to become more familiar with trading before I'd start trading live. So, like the average person, I started searching on the internet, looking on Google and on the internet and seeing who's who in the trading world, trying to find the best gurus out there. And there was some interesting characters and some hype behind them. People like, Timothy Sykes and the other ones here and there. kind of some of the traders that coaches that were available seemed a little bit unrealistic with the promises that they were making and stuff. So I was looking for a more down to earth, realistic kind of academy, so to say.
Mm-hmm.
So I got interested in what was being offered by Warrior Training. I don't know if you've heard of Warrior Training. They are,
I've heard of it.
yeah. So kind of got persuaded by their, sales pitch, and I joined them, and I went in with the inner membership, something called the inner circle, which cost me a lot of money.
Right.
I thought that I'd get special treatment and stuff, but it wasn't like that. It was a little bit exaggerated, and I had too many expectations. And I started with a course, and there was a lot of recorded videos that you had to watch, and some booklets and stuff that they sent over to me. And there was an opportunity for me to attend a conference, a training conference in Disneyland or Orlando. And I came in, that was 2 years ago in spring, where I went into there and participated in the training conference, got to meet some fellow traders. How are we doing on time, by the way? Do we have time?
Don't worry, we can be as long as we want.
Okay. Just didn't want to blather on endlessly.
Yeah,
Please stop me if there is any questions that you have,
So I do have a comment and a question. The comment is, it's really common, unfortunately, for people who want to be stock trading gurus to only share their wins. They're not sharing their losses, right?
Yeah.
And so it's very biased. And if you looked at their whole record, it probably would not be as good as what they're actually showing you. And if they were really making as much money as they claim to be making on trading, they wouldn't really need to charge you money for access to their stuff, right? So yeah. I think there's good reason to be pretty skeptical of a lot of those gurus. Before we get too far down that road, let me ask you, what exactly were the obstacles that prevented you from being able to open up like a Robinhood account or a Webull, or using one of the sort of standard U.S. brokerages that have the zero commissions?
Well, basically, I was reading up on the instructions and the literature available on how to open a trading account, and I wasn't looking at putting a lot of money into a trading account. I began with putting in about $9,000.
Mm-hmm.
And that immediately, limits your options in terms of which brokers you can go to. I didn't change too many brokers. I mean, at the beginning, I was with a broker. I don't recall their name, but they were charging hefty commissions.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Trade Zero seemed a bit more realistic. So I decided to go with Trade Zero. And being a non-US citizen, it was already difficult enough to try and get approval for opening a trading account. So I wasn't too picky at that time. And with Trade Zero, I had to submit a lot of documents and so forth. And they were pretty strict about it until I was able to get the trading account going. So that was the reason why I went with Trade Zero. There wasn't many options. It was about 3 or 4 or 5 options available in terms of trading companies, brokerage companies that offered accounts for outside non-US citizens. So that's the reason why I was with Trade Zero. And having said that, if I wasn't a British citizen and I didn't have a British passport, there is restrictions as to which countries and which citizens can open a trading account. For example, this is something that is worth mentioning as well. I mean, Iraq has been put on the list of those countries that U.S. would not deal with, that U.S. companies are not allowed to deal with, which is kind of farcical, and it's a big joke because, at this time of Saddam Hussein, fine, but when his regime was toppled and everything was finished, why didn't they remove Iraq from that that list? It is completely ludicrous, and there's a whole market in Iraq for Iraqi citizens and Kurds in Iraq that want to trade with American companies, but due to this silly restriction and this stupidity, it is not possible. So I had to find a legal loophole, which is using my other citizenship in order to open a trading account, and otherwise it wouldn't have been possible. And there are a lot of restrictions, but I think the U.S. government should rethink that and should. U.S. is a capitalist continent, and it really is stupid to not be open to the Iraqi market and allow American companies to do business with Iraq in general.
Well,
So that's some. Yeah.
There's all kind of empirical evidence also that bilateral trade improves outcomes for both countries and brings them closer together in terms of values and prevents wars and things like that. So I agree with you that we should be trading with Iraq.
Definitely.
Now, my understanding is the brokerage that you ended up using was still charging you a fairly hefty monthly fee. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I was for the platform I was using, which was a Zero Pro something platform that was offering the full facilities and level 2 and hotkeys, which is a big thing, as you know. For day traders, it was roughly $70 per month for the platform and the level 2 and the hotkeys. So that was a lot of money that I had to pay, as well as the commissions, which was on each execution, which was about $1 per execution, which comes up to a lot if you're a day trader and you're constantly pressing the hotkeys and doing executions. So that was the bulk of the expenses was from that. Can I mention something about the strategy as well?
Yeah.
My strategy and what I was going for. So I was trading as a day trader. Just going back to the issue of the education and the gurus. So, I was hoping that with the special membership fees that I was paying with Warrior Trading, that it would help me reach consistency in trading, which was to achieve at least 70% consistency win rate and make some profit. But being with them for around 3 years, I didn't reach that consistency, unfortunately. I don't blame it on them, but the promises that were being made and the expectations that they were setting and the marketing, it was like, almost guaranteed for you to make it. A couple of months, within 2-3 months, these students are becoming rich and making a sizable profit and able to achieve an income. So I started with small caps, trading small caps with Ross Cameron and trading his strategy. He's within the Warrior Trading. He's the main guru. And he's made his material extensively available and his videos, and he's live before the market opens, opening up the video and his sharing his screen and all that. And I tried it for a couple of months, his trading strategy, and it didn't work for me. I was disappointed. So I decided to switch to the large cap trading strategy with another guru whose name is Mike, who is not as good of a communicator as Ross Cameron and wasn't sharing his technique and details in the same way as Ross was. And I stuck with him for the remainder of my time as a trader, trading large caps. And I was trading, above $20 price stocks, up to $300 trading common stocks companies such as Netflix, Apple, Facebook, CMG, Chipotle, those large cap companies. And it is a bit of a roller coaster road, to be honest. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. There is a heck of a lot of randomness in the market, and to have an edge and to be able to achieve consistency has been a bit of a holy grail, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I didn't come to find out exactly what was the reason that I didn't reach that level of profitability, but it seems that based on statistics that a vast majority of traders don't become profitable, and it's only a very small percentage that actually do become consistently profitable, which makes it very difficult for the average Joe like myself to actually make it. Having stuck it out for over 3 years and spending hours upon hours of study, of reading books, of looking at the material, of studying the charts, my approach was as a technical trader, purely technical, looking at the charts, trading the charts, no fundamentals, not holding stocks overnight. It was holding it for short periods of time, trying to trading large caps, as I said, mainly short bias, as you said. So very few long trades, mainly short trades. The short trades and shorting seem to be more in line with thinking that it would achieve profitability. That my impression was that companies and stock traders would be more inclined to pull out of a company and causing a tumble in the pricing and benefiting from that in the very, very short term within a day. So that was my approach, and I was using my time frames that I was using was the seconds chart, so the 30-second chart, the 10-second chart, the 5-minute chart, and the daily charts. And I was using trend lines, support and resistance zones, as well as looking at using the daily chart to draw out my support and resistance zones and my trend lines, and using the moving averages. So using the 20, 50, 100, and 200 moving averages on the daily chart. And my trading time frame was a 5-minute chart where I was using the 20 exponential moving average and the VWAP. So I was using the VWAP primarily, which was what we were taught by Mike, the guru, if you want to call him a guru, but that's what he put himself forth as. And yeah, so I was using the VWAP, using the 20 EMA, and using the volume as an indicator. So the volume bars to some extent as well. And that was basically my technical layout that I was using. And having tried it for extended periods of time, there was no consistency. I had a couple of months where I was green, but it was barely green. And whenever I would try to increase my size and try and trade with larger amounts of money, I would, I would lose a lot of money. So, kept going. I kept trying and trying and trying, and there was still no consistency. And kind of, it really drove me to a point where I thought, this is a waste of time. So I quit for a while, and then the Corona situation came. And you know what happens when you're left with a lot of time in your hands and nothing to do? You go back to your old habits. I was stuck in Dubai at the time during the Corona from March until June. So I had a lot of time. I decided to get back to trading. I thought that I should try and swing trade, which was a completely stupid idea. And so I decided to go back to the day trading that I was doing with the large caps, that strategy that I had learned, and tried to apply it. I had the wrong charts at that time. There was a delay in the charts with TradingView. So I tried to get the higher membership and the no delay data link that they were offering at a higher price, and that helped me a little bit for a while. But then I continued, and there was about 3-4 months of trading, and Then, kind of cooled off it. Decided that I was spending too much of my free time. I wasn't getting the results I was expecting, and on the personal side, I had a bit of a spiritual awakening. And during that spiritual awakening, where I was, exploring my Christian faith as a Christian even more, I thought that it was not really worth investing all of that time, and it would be better spent uh, exploring my spirituality more and spending more time with the family and trying to focus on what I am good at, because it was a very long, difficult, torturous ride in trading, and I wasn't getting anywhere. And here I am now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's several things there that I think are interesting to comment on. One being that a number of years ago, there were lots and lots of studies showing that, 98% of traders weren't beating the market, and in large part that was because of the commissions. I mean,
Mm,
if you factor out the commissions and fees, then they were sort of on average staying even with the market. But when you factor in the commissions and fees, everybody's losing. The only people who are winning are the people who are charging those fees. So,
yeah,
I mean, you're paying the monthly fee, you're paying commissions, and you're paying this warrior trading group for access to their material. By the
yeah,
time you factor all of that in, especially if you're only trading with $9,000,
yeah,
you've got to make a lot of money just to break even.
that's right.
So that, you're playing at a huge disadvantage there. Um,
Mm,
and I hate a little bit to hear people in places like Iraq, Kurdistan, investing their money in U.S. markets,
yeah,
because the money that you put into the market is at least theoretically supposed to stimulate the economic activity in that market. But like
yeah,
the US is such a huge market, it's the richest market in the world. And so your
mm,
$9,000 in the US market is a drop in the bucket, but
yeah,
invested in Kurdistan, that could make a much larger difference. So
true.
I actually am, want overall, I think like the fact that you have actually quit trading, I kind of like, because I want to, even though I want to offer people information about how to do this if they want to, I also want to offer them the advice that they probably shouldn't. Because
Mm,
sometimes the answer to the question how to do something is really just don't do it. And
true,
it sounds like that's your
true,
message.
true. I mean, I think reasonably speaking, Chris, within a period of a couple of months, it should become pretty clear whether that person can make it out as a trader or not.
Yeah.
If you give yourself, I don't know, this is just me guessing, but around 6 months, I think 6 months is enough for you to know whether you can become a successful trader, give or take, and depending on the person. But I think I stuck it out far too long. It was partly stubbornness and partly the money and all the time that I'd invested into this enterprise that I was hoping would give me a side income in addition to my full-time job that would complement my source of finance and help me to make a little bit of a living on the side. I mean, I would have been content with $2,000-3,000 a month on the side.
Right.
I wasn't able to achieve that. I mean, it never got to that. And as you say, it's an attrition based kind of enterprise where commissions are eating away at your gains or at your capital. And as you say, unless you're making a significant amount of money, you end up spending most of your money just on commissions and education. And frankly speaking, you need very little in terms of paid subscription. There's a lot of free material that is available out there. So my advice to your viewers is do not pay. Do not pay those gurus. Do not pay those supposedly money makers, the ones that are going to make you instantaneously rich, because they won't.
Right.
They just want to grab your money. That's all there is to it. There's a lot of free material on the internet. There's a lot of free videos on the YouTube that you can get a lot of information from, a lot of material that you can read, a lot of ebooks. A couple of books that I found useful was The Art and Science of Technical Analysis by Adam Grimes. A pretty good book, very extensive, very, very detailed, very, very well researched. The Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas. And there was another one, Trade Mindfulness Trading, something like that. That was another book as well. Those books in themselves are pretty useful. And the candlestick charts by Neeson, or I don't remember his name, but it's a famous book, the main source on candlestick theory. So, by reading those books, by looking at the videos that are available out there on the internet, by doing some research yourself, by reading the charts if you're a technician, or by doing your fundamentals if you're a fundamentals, or a mix of both, I think you can get a lot of education without the necessity of having to pay all that money, because you feel more obligated to continue even though that you're losing. I think if I hadn't paid those memberships and those subscriptions, I might have quit earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But going all the way to Orlando, coming to that trading conference, is investing thousands of dollars. I mean, I invested just in the education part in excess of $25,000. That really kind of wants you to continue and try to make it back. A bit like a
Right.
gambler, when you put in the money and when you want to earn it back. And we just have to know our strengths and weaknesses and whether we have what it takes. I mean, I think it takes a particular kind of person to actually be successful as a trader.
Mm-hmm.
There is partly nature, partly nurture, but I think a certain type of a person can make it out as a trader, and it's a person that is good with um, thinking like a trader, and being mindful, being calm, being robotic in your trading, sticking to a strategy, following a strategy, being very logical and rational about it. And most of us are highly emotional, and most of us, we are affected by the ups and downs of winning and losing, and which makes us get emotional in our trading, and it's very difficult to detach emotion from trading. It takes a specific kind of person to be able to be mindful and be able to trade like a robot, which is very, very hard, and particular mental skills that a trader would have. I think I don't have that, to be honest. I thought I could acquire those skills, but I wasn't able to acquire those skills. So, there comes a time where you need to face reality, and sometimes events in life makes you take a step back and realize that, yeah, this is not meant for you. As I said, for me, it was a spiritual reawakening that helped me to step aside and see whether I can be good at it. But for doing it for over 3 years and still not making money and investing all that time and effort, I decided to focus on my strengths and the areas where I could make money, which is education and language and sports, and those areas that I'm good at. It's better to, do things that you're good at. If you're younger, if you're in your 20s, or if you're a teenager and you start out learning about trading, learning about the stock market, studying the charts, I think it's easier to some extent because the brain is more malleable and your brain is working at a higher level when you're quite young. But, that's just my opinion, to be honest.
Well, and I mean, you're a professor, so it's not like you're somebody who doesn't know how to take advantage of an education, you know? You are yourself an educator. So I think it just illustrates how hard this is. And
Yeah,
I think what you said about focusing on the things that you're good at and where you can, really produce value makes a lot of sense, because not only should you think about, the fees that you're paying to do this, you should also think about the time that you're investing in it. And
true.
how much could you be making if you invested that same amount of time in a job that paid you, a steady hourly rate in your field of expertise?
True.
Probably quite a bit more. than you're making in the day trading, So
Sure.
really appreciate your insights, Swara. I think that I think that this will be useful to our listeners. And thank you so much for sitting down to talk with me about this.
I appreciate the opportunity, Chris, and I hope everybody who's thinking about trading will take it with a pinch of salt and not hope for too much. And I think your suggestion about interviewing me, even though I quit trading, I think it's a very wise move because not everybody makes it.
That's absolutely right. All right. You have a
Have
great
a
day.
great day. Take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thanks.